Hello, YouTube. Hello, podcast world. It's me, HeyArcher. Welcome back to my channel, episode 180. Let me actually double check that. Yeah. Holy crap. We're at HeyArcher episode 180. That's 20 episodes down on this channel. Um, Actually, screw it. I want to say thank you to all of you listening here. Thank you, Aaron Waller, and the rest of you who actually listen to every single episode. I make this content and I don't know how you do it. So I tip my hat to you. Those of you listening, I just tipped my hat. That's actually a beanie, so I don't know if that really works for tip my hat. I'd be curious to know actually how that saying came about. That'd be an interesting one. But Hey Archer, episode 180. I am recording this on a Saturday, December 28th, before New Year's. It's the last weekend of 2019, last weekend of the decade, where people are in a great debate as to does it really count as the end of the decade unless we get to end of 2020. I care not for this discussion because I am basic in that way. I had some fun things planned for the end of this year as far as content goes. I really wanted to make you guys a best of videos, best of music videos, a best of albums, best of artists kind of thing. So let me know down below. By the time this comes out on audio, you will of course be ahead of the new year. But actually, for those of you watching here on YouTube, since the episodes drop on Wednesday, since Hey Archer, that's a thing. I don't remember if I ever said that. If you've been paying attention, you'd know Hey Archer drops on Wednesday. So every Wednesday. So if you're watching this on YouTube, actually, Happy New Year. It is now January 1st. But I wanted to do some kind of best of the decade / best of the year type of thing. And in doing so, I was in the wrong decade. I was on my way back from New York City and listening to a bunch of music in my car, listening to a bunch of podcasts. I've been doing a lot of listening to Knuckle Up, which is the catalyst of this podcast, actually. Knuckle Up is a podcast by Eugene S. Robinson. The S stands for Surly. And in the Knuckle Up series, as he transitioned from combat music radio to Bloody Elbow, he was afraid that the count would be messed up as far as episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So what he did was, for those of you who are new to the channel, you may not know that's why the numbers count backwards. What he did was he was going episode 1 through whatever on one station, changed stations, decided to count backwards from like 500. And when the two shows met at a number, which I'll, for argument's sake, say was 250, that would be by the time he would win MMA Journalist of the Year. If he did not win MMA Journalist of the Year, he would set himself on fire. Much to our disappointment, Eugene S. Robinson did not set himself on fire. But much to my excitement, he kept the show going. It changed names, it changed channels. He made his own channel. Mr. Robinson's doing his own thing. So I was listening to him a bunch and then listening to some music. And that's where I came up with the idea for doing a countdown type show where I'd count down music videos or artists or whatever. And I was in the wrong decade completely. I was actually listening to a bunch of albums, listening to artists, and on the drive from New York, I was compiling this list. And by the time I got back to Boston, I realized I was counting people and bands from 2000 to 2010, not 2010 to 2020. So I failed you. I absolutely failed you. I need to redo my list. But I will say one thing on that topic before we move on. If you're still listening, bless your heart. I will say this. Lamb of God, Ashes of the Wake, if we're talking anything music related, might be one of my favorite metal albums of all time. to me, it was the best metal album of the decade 2000 to 2010. I guess I could debate you if you wanted to. I'd lose. I know that for sure. But if you can listen to that album, if you're a metal fan, and tell me that there's any shitty songs on that album, please let me know, because I don't think there is any. I think it's a straight through, beginning to end. I feel like I'm getting punched in the face, and I like it. I like it. So yeah, I'm going to try to come up with something for you guys. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll link it above if I have it out in time. If not, if you're listening on the podcast, make sure you head over to my YouTube channel so you can check it out. A lot of things in the nerd world has happened since the last episode. The biggest thing, of course, being the rise of Skywalker and the end of The Mandalorian Season 1. So make sure you head over to the YouTube channel if you're not here already, so you can see my thoughts on the end of The Mandalorian Season 1, and I will be doing a discussion on the rise of Skywalker. My plan at the moment, because you've probably, if you're interested in that, you've already listened to a bunch of stuff on it. So I'm thinking of doing a video actually where I look back at my trailer reactions and see what I got right and what I got wrong. I feel like I might be down the middle on that, 50-50 on things I actually predicted, things I didn't. And I say but a lot. I'm trying to get rid of that this year. The topic of the podcast came up this week, and it came up in a conversation via multiple dating apps, via multiple people, because I just threw it in there. The other day, I just threw it in there. I was like, hey, you want to be on my podcast? Screw it, whatever. And the topic of the podcast came up, where it's like, what do you talk about on the show? So those of you watching, we're 20 episodes deep. The show has transitioned quite a bit. It was a lot of heavy nerd and heavy UFC related things. It's gone more nerd. I kind of wanted it to go back into UFC slightly, but that got sidetracked by it sucking. And since I'm one of the few of the single friends I know, and I've been dating for a very long time, I figured I'd bring that into this podcast. So when I give a description, I always say that the podcast is nerd-based / dating type story-based. So I was asked, like, hey, what's your aspirations with this? Like, doing a podcast, doing comedy in general? Are you trying to become a celebrity or do whatever? And it I always feel like that's a funny question to answer. People would always argue in general in life and whatever you do, that do something you love, because if at that point, if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I mean, and I've said this before on this episode, on the series, that of course anybody would love to get money doing a podcast. Anybody would love to make money doing stand-up. Anybody would love to make money doing anything aside from what is deemed and labeled a job. But you can't. That's not the way that it works for everybody. It's a dream for everybody, of course. Anybody who tells you, no, I'm good doing my 9 to 5, they're a damn lie. It's a liar. Many of us who do multiple things would tell you that we're also not stupid. So having a regular job pays the bills and allows you to do things that you've always wanted to do. In my case, it's be creative. It was cosplay before. It's YouTube now. It's doing actual podcasts now. So do what you love, and that's always my message, is do what you love, respect others, of course, but do what you love, have fun. You only get one life. Just go about it. But in this episode, I'm going to challenge myself here. This is interesting. I'm going to try to take another piece of the Eugene S. Robinson formula here. I'm going to jump topics in an attempt to make them all connect somehow. I know, it's quite challenging. So let's start with Star Wars, right? Off the bat. I just kind of want to talk this out real quick. For those of you listening for date conversation, skip maybe 5 minutes. I'll keep time. So you're probably going to want to skip to about 14 minutes in at this point. 15, maybe. So Star Wars, right? All right. I've been listening and I've been watching a lot of people discuss The Rise of Skywalker. And the reviews are mixed. The reviews are even mixed amongst people I know. Now, the part that's always confusing to me is The Force Awakens came out, and as a whole, we were all happy to be there. We were all happy that we were just getting Star Wars, right? We acknowledged it was a retread of the first movie. It didn't really bother us. It was new characters. It was all that kind of stuff. The Last Jedi comes out and pisses off majority of the fan base. A lot of people were indifferent. Those people generally are not hardcore fans. There were some who, of course, said they loved it. There were a good amount on social media who said they loved it because they get paid to talk about this kind of stuff. A lot of that came out amongst people. And I will let you know this, right? Sidestepping for a second. If I ever get paid for this thing, if I ever get paid to podcast and you see me plugging something, if you see me talking about something that somehow could be related to a sponsor on this, you need to call me out and tell me that I am bullshitting you. You need to, to be a true fan, be a true friend. I feel like if you watch this show, you are a friend, family member of the HeyArcher community, and you need to call me out on my bullshit. You really do. Because I think with the Last Jedi, a lot of that came out. You saw people saying this movie's awesome, this movie's great. Then you look and they're like partnered with this company and that company, and they always get access to these actors and those. It seems like a conflict of interest is all I'm saying. So that movie was very divisive. People either hated The Last Jedi or they loved it. Very rare to find somebody in the middle. But it opened up this whole new space, this whole new nerd YouTube space, podcast space, where you had the creation of essentially the fandom menace. Now, I know that's its own entity, but I'm going to use them as a example of this. They had a whole community of people who opened up and created a fan base, and I'm part of it. I don't ever lie about that. You had a whole bunch of us who, for 2 years, just consumed content about how Disney was destroying Star Wars, right? And we all were talking about how this next movie would suck, and this movie will be the end of it all, and The Rise of Skywalker would be there's no way it could be a swan song to this series of movies. And at the final chapter in the final months, there was all of a sudden it's the conclusion of the Skywalker saga, which in the previous two movies you had no idea that's what we were doing here. I just thought these were I consumed so much of Star Wars, a lot, an unhealthy amount of Star Wars. Going into this movie a couple months ago, I had no idea this was supposed to be the quote unquote end of the Skywalker saga. I had no clue, and I watch everything. I watch it all. But so you had this whole fan base that was built on this desire to watch the world burn, watch the Star Wars world burn. And it was this build up to it. And it was all this excitement to it. And in watching it, and watching this happen, and watching this whole thing fester, I started to kind of look at, do we do this as a people in other things too? Do you set expectations up for something to fail or to succeed in a way that you're like, you start putting your all into it and you don't even realize you're doing it, right? I started thinking about even dating, where it's, you have people who, as I get older, other people get older, you start to see that people start to prioritize things. And I talked last week about people who make a list of 3. I always think 3 is a good number for that kind of thing, where they're like, there's 3 things that I'm okay with. I have a priority list of what I'm looking for. Things could be interchangeable based on who I'm dating. For example, I went out with a girl not the other day, it might have been a couple of weeks ago. I can't even remember at this point. I went out with this girl. It was maybe our first or second date. I can't remember which number it was. I don't even think she listens to the show, so that'd be fine. We went out and she made a comment randomly, and she was like, "Do you play a lot of video games? Are you like into gaming a lot?" Valid question, right? I freaking run a YouTube channel based on nerd shit, right? I run a podcast based on nerd shit. So that's a goddamn valid question if I ever heard one. Are you into gaming? Is that your thing? And in meeting her, I guess I got she just came out of a long-term relationship, and I got the assumption that I guess gaming was part of the issue. I'm not sure. So I told the truth. And much to your surprise, those of you who might already think you know the answer, I don't actually play a lot of video games. Not at all. I own currently 3. I'm looking at them right now. I own 3 games. Every so often, I'll grab a game. I'll play it for like 2 days, and then I forget about it. I'm done. It's not really my thing. I don't feel creative when I do it. But I was like, oh, like what if I said yes? Would this date be over at that point? Like, does that then negate everything that we've accomplished here? The fact that we were on multiple dates, does that throw the whole thing off? I wasn't sure. I'm not sure if that was on her priority list of 3. But it led to me thinking like, all right, that's your setup. You're currently trying to find somebody that meets a certain amount of things. You're building up this person in your mind of who you're looking for. I think we all do that in some way, shape, or form. You build up this image of who you're looking for. You build up this person of who you're looking for. You either want this person to exist and you acknowledge they exist, or you go the complete opposite direction and all of a sudden you're like, screw it, the person doesn't exist. I'm just going to take this, whatever it may be. And there's a build up to it. And there's a build up to that excitement of How I Met Your Mother. You know, it's that excitement of what will be that moment where you're like, I've made it. This is it. I've done it. And for a lot of people, you get to that moment. You get to your Rise of Skywalker. You're in the theater. You're sitting there. You're on that date. And you're like, this is what I've waited for. This is the moment where either this is what I wanted or this is what I'm willing to go for. And I'm good here. I'm ready to do this. And then you watch it. And you talk to that person. And you're like, damn. This kind of sucks. There was this buildup and this excitement, and I was ready to watch it either succeed or burn, one of the two. And it just falls right in the middle. And you're indifferent. And you're just there, and you're staring. And you're like, why am I here? What is going on? What am I doing? And that's it. You kind of wake up and you look around, the lights turn on, and everybody's just staring at the screen, and you're just like confused. You're staring at your date and you're confused. You're just like, what is going on here? To me, there's so many parallels between art and reality, where in our heads we build certain things up. We wait for certain things. We hold things at a certain pedestal, and then it just kind of happens. It just happens. Another great analogy to that, which I don't know if this is really too dark or not. I'm not sure where this is going on this, as far as like being lighthearted or not. But the thing I always think about is, you know, fighters, right? So going into UFC as an example, you have all these fighters who their goal is to be champ, right? Any sport, actually. Your goal, if you're in a sport, is to be the best. You don't just go into it necessarily saying, I just kind of want to warm the bench, play a couple games, or, you know, being top 10 is great. I'm pretty good at being top 10. Top 10 seems good. Making a movie that's, you know, a B, or 80% of Rotten Tomatoes, that's good. It's rare that somebody says that. It's rare somebody goes into life with that kind of thought. But you have all these fighters, blood, sweat, and tears they put into what they're doing, their craft, being the best fighter they can be, learning all the skills, learning all the talents. And they get to that moment, they get to the final fight, there's this build-up, there's this adrenaline rush. You're walking to the cage, this is the moment, you're the main event. You're staring across the ring. You're looking at that person that has what you need, what you want, what will change your life forever. And you lock eyes and you go to the center of the ring, the cage, whatever it may be. Touch gloves. You back up. You hit the cage. The ref looks at you. You ready? You're good. Ref looks at the next person. You ready? You're good. Let's do it. Let's go. Hit the center of the ring, the cage, whatever it may be. You go at it. Whether it's in seconds or 25 minutes, you win that fight. You win that belt. They come around. They put the strap around you. This is it. This is exactly what you wanted. Your life has changed. Everything is different now. You've accomplished what you've always wanted to accomplish. You do the press conference. You're talking to Ariel Helwani. You're talking to Luke Thomas. Well, no, Luke Thomas is banned from everything. You're talking to Brett Okamoto. You know, they're pretending they don't work together. And, you know, you're doing all these things. And you leave and you go to the post party and you're cheering. You're celebrating. You're the champ. You did it. You accomplished everything you've ever wanted to accomplish. You go to the hotel room. Maybe you have company. Maybe you don't. Who knows? Depends on who you are. You go to sleep. You wake up. You're in those nice sheets. You're in a nice hotel room. You won the title. Splurge a little bit. Paint this picture with me. You wake up. You feel the sheets. Look out the window. Las Vegas Strip or wherever it is you are. And you're like, I did it. I won. I made it. I'm the champ. Now what? Adrenaline dump. Now the adrenaline dump happens. You're like, that's it. Like everything, all your eggs were in this one basket. And that's it. It's a wrap. You're done. I mean, there's title defenses to be had. But you'll never hit that same high again. You hit the apex. And for a lot of combat athletes, for sports athletes, it's depressing. Some people go to therapy over that. You know what it is to get the goal, the dream that you want, and all of a sudden, what now? Like, what are we doing here? Where are we going here? It's crazy. It's kind of scary in a certain way. It's crazy. And for a lot of people, you know, the masses of fans that were waiting for Star Wars to burn and fail, and we all sat in that theater. We watched it burn and fail. To me, it failed. You know, it's gonna make money, but it's not gonna like do crazy numbers. I was like, great, cool. Walked out the theater, sat in my car, and I was like, great. Now what do I do? Now what? And the good thing is, at least in my case, I have other content to talk about. I have other media to produce, things to talk about. But imagine you're that channel that all you do is talk about how Star Wars is going to crash and burn and whatnot. And all of a sudden you're like, all right, crash and burned. I'll do 5 videos this weekend on how the Rise of Skywalker sucked and Luke Skywalker sucked and Rey sucks and Ben sucks and everybody sucks. And a week from now, you're like, I guess I got to come up with something else. And maybe you don't have anything else. Maybe that's it. It's just emptiness. I got nothing. You built up something so high. You put so much into something, and then it's gone. Vanishes. And I think that, you know, again, wrapping everything together, I think a lot of that, it transfers into dating as well. You know, you find that perfect person. You're like, all right, I want the person who looks like this, has this kind of job, makes this kind of money, lives in this kind of house. I'm going to go on this date with them. We're going to go to the perfect place, do the best things. And you show up and you're on the date. You're like, fuck. All right, that's what I wanted. That's what I needed. Now what I do? Now what I do? You're waking up in that bed, feeling those sheets. You got the belt. You got that person you dated that you went out on a date with, and you've set yourself up for failure, and you had no clue you're even doing it. It's weird. It's a really weird concept to think about, And it's weird how that concept applies to so many different things of just building things up, and then you get there and you're like, now what? I have no idea what to do. And with that girl I was on a date with, I feel like I had that moment with her on this date. Like, we got to that moment where I was looking at her, she's looking at me. She's asking, do you play video games? And here it is. You're on a date with a dude who's from New York, 34, has a job, does pretty decent for himself. No kids, never married. I think I like good music and movies. She's like, do you play video games? I'm like, no. She's like, perfect. Okay. Now I guess we have to get to know each other. And nothing. And nothing. And I think the moral of that story, the moral of that date, the moral of all of this, the moral of Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, the moral of trying to get a championship, the moral of anything. It sucks to say, but maybe we shouldn't be aiming so high. Maybe there is no... It's good to have a goal in mind, but to obsess over this goal, when things become an obsession, whether it's a person you're dating, whether it's a job title, whether it's a movie reaction or a movie result, a sporting game result, if you build things up so high and you finally achieve them, what then? What do you do then? And I feel like we need to, as people, as humans, as critical thinkers, sometimes just step back and say, you know what? I'm just gonna sit here and just, to quote the line, let God take the wheel. Let Jesus take the wheel. Just let stuff happen. You know? I'm just gonna talk to this other person who meets none of the criteria which I'm looking for. Just because I'm here. And just because I want to meet the person. I'm going to sit here and watch The Rise of Skywalker. And after judging it for an hour straight of like, what are you doing? I'm just going to turn my brain off and just watch it and just be like, you know what? It's 2019. I'm watching Star Wars in a theater again. As much as this movie plagiarizes, I've never seen this movie. I've never seen this actor say this line. I've never seen this person strike that person with a lightsaber or a ship or anything. I'm just going to enjoy it. I'm just going to sit and enjoy it. And we should do that. And as a people, as humans, just sit back and just enjoy life. Just take it all in. And if things happen and they work out perfectly, perfect. If they don't, screw it. Just keep your head down. I forget who says it. Keep your head down. Keep your hands up. Just keep going forward. Just keep going forward. And that's my thought process today. That is my thought process on HeyArcher episode 180. The 20th episode of this series. Just keep your head down and just keep going forward. Goals, aspirations, those are cool. But despite what I used to believe, don't become obsessed. Just do. Just go for it. Just take it all in. Just enjoy life for what it is. Enjoy the conversations for what they are. Enjoy the shitty Star Wars movies for what they are. Just enjoy it all. Just take it all in. Very interesting episode of HeyArcher, episode 180. Very interesting episode. I told you I'd find a way to wrap or to take Star Wars, dating, and even life and show how they're all connected in some way, shape, or form. I think I did it. I think I proved it. I don't know. You let me know what you think. Either if it's in the ratings of this episode or in your comment section on YouTube. I'd like to know. But I want to thank you guys for being with me on this rant series. 20 episodes to me is quite a lot to just acknowledge I've done. That I've sat here. I made way more than 20 videos, but the fact that I've done 20 episodes of just one series of YouTube videos, to me is something special. means a lot. And I'm just proud of myself that I just keep my head down and do it. Just every week I sit here, I'll talk to you guys, and we'll just enjoy the ride together. And that's what matters. Enjoy the ride. Make it a judgment-free zone. Just take it all in. Now, if you guys excuse me, I will actually finish eating my chocolate Oreos from Godiva Chocolate. They were supposed to be a gift. I did not gift all of them because I'm smart like that. I'm going to finish my chocolate. I'm going to drink my Diet Coke because I did not get my Diet Pepsi. I quit beer this year, or a couple months ago, I should say. And I'm going to get my hot tub. The hot tub I did not pay for, but the hot tub I enjoy because I ain't dumb. Thanks for liking this video. Share this video. Share this podcast for another 20, for another 180, 179. I don't know. We're going to get there. We're going to get to Joe Rogan. If we don't get to Joe Rogan, screw it. Doesn't even matter. At least we tried, and we enjoyed the ride doing it. Trailer reactions coming soon. More episode reviews of Working Moms coming soon. And other just content in general. Because we're going to have fun with this channel. We're going to have fun with life. We're going to have fun on these dates. You're going to have fun doing all those things. If you're married, you should not have fun on dates because that is wrong. But Happy New Year. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Not sponsored by Diet Coke. Peace.